Hello, Mr. Woggles.
Yo, what's going on? Sorry, I had myself muted. What's going on, homie?
Nothing much, my dude.
So I heard you want to throw down a debate.
Yeah, if you want to.
Oh, I'm all about it. I'm a kind of early small streamer though, so your boy's gonna be kind of nervous.
Oh, that's okay, buddy. All right, what
So
do you got for me?
all right, so my topic with your no, we're not gonna be. Your chat's already talking about the. One of your viewers came into my stream trying to argue about how what's it called here. Let me go ahead and hold on. Let me full screen myself on my screen so my stream can get a good look at this. All right. So basically, he came in saying the first argument was that Nazis aren't leftists. Like I told him that Nazis have more in common with being on the left side of the spectrum than they would with being on the right side of the spectrum. And he proceeded to lose that debate with me and then do your little incest debate, which I've seen before, and I think it's kind of bullshit. He tried to call me an alt-right with all these alt-right talking points, but then pulled out one of your talking points to fight that. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean, we can
just
do both of these arguments are incredibly easy from my point of view, so we can do either one, whichever
I
one you
would
want to do.
I would honestly like to do the why Nazis are more on the left side of the spectrum than on the right.
Yeah,
If you want to.
sure, if you want to. I'm very curious. Go for it.
All right. So most people when they go to argue why Nazis are on the left side of the spectrum would be that they are the National Socialist Party, but in reality they're not. They're not. They didn't originally start off as National Socialists. They originally started off as capitalism, using capitalism under the guise, socialism under the guise of capitalism to gain all the control. They used all these capitalist promises and end up using all these social programs instead of actually pushing capitalism. Like they had a lot of price fixing. They controlled all the businesses.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I think you have this backwards. So let me just read this real quick so we don't have to debate about it. The Nazi Party's precursor, the Pan-German Nationalist and Anti-Semitic German Workers' Party, was founded on the 5th of January 1919. By the early 1920s, the party was renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party to attract workers away from left-wing parties such as the Social Democrats and the Communists, and Adolf Hitler assumed control of the organization. So they originally called themselves the National Socialist Program because they wanted to... What?
They weren't socialists though at the beginning. They used
they were never
capitalism.
socialists. Like the Nazi Party was never socialist.
Yeah, but they were. They implement many socialists. It wasn't really called socialism. Wasn't really popular, so they used socialism to guide us away from capitalism.
Wait, so okay, hold on. I'm sorry. When you say socialism, what do you mean by that?
I mean heavy government control. I mean heavy government influence, like big government. Like they're involved in everything. They control everything, and they get everything.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Like I look at it like there's the middle of the spectrum, and as you go more left, you go like liberal, and then you go socialist, and then you go communist over. And I think fascism and Nazism is would be after communism, because I look at it like as conservatives go more conservative, they want less and less government intrusion. As the liberals go more and more to the left, they want more and more government intrusion, which is why I compare that to socialism and communism and such, which is why I think Nazism and fascism is more on the left, and not to mention more people today on the left adopt more of the Nazism, fascism like lifestyle in form of like trying to silence people and trying to control people and trying to tell people that their ideas aren't right or their opinions aren't right because of what they think.
Okay.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I understand. There's like a lot of like definition problems going on here, though. Like, I mean, like if you redefine things certain ways, you can make it work.
Can you elaborate more on my definition problems? Just so
well, sure. Like the idea that if you go left, you get more and more government, and then all the way on the left is communism. Well, we're already really fucked because communism implies a stateless society without a government. So we're already like in big trouble there. The idea that the government doing things under a single party is somehow more left is also kind of strange because most people consider like fascism, like authoritarian ultranationalism, to be a very right-wing ideology, which implies like single-party totalitarian rule.
Yeah, you're right. Like, but I'm looking at it more as times have progressed. Like, I think what Nazism did differently was that they brought a lot of anti-Semitism and eugenics into it, which kind of took away from the actual socialism that they were like the actual government control, or like they were trying to relate to the communists a little bit when they joined Russia or whatever. But I'm just looking at it as like in forms of today, that leftists today have more in common with the Nazis than people on the right do today. I'm not saying that there's not
Sure.
there's
So
not
let's
like
look
white
at
supremacists and Nazis and
yeah.
all that stuff. I'm just saying that like
So
if
the-
you look at what's going on today, it's just more like even in like European countries.
Sure.
Like
So
yeah, continue.
So
Go
the,
ahead.
so
My
the
bad.
Nazi Party, right? The Nazi Party felt like their state was under attack, so they mobilized the country under a single party rule with a strong central leader that identified every minority group as an outsider and an enemy of the state in order to kind of muster up support from the majority people in a state. You think this more closely identifies with the left today in the United States rather than the right?
Can you repeat that for me again? Sorry.
Sure. So the Nazis identify a strong central leader with the goals of mobilizing the entire state under single-party rule, right, a totalitarian, authoritarian state, and they identify every minority group as enemies of the state, and they, lock them up in concentration camps or whatever, in order to kind of like muster up support from a disenfranchised majority. You think this more closely resembles left-wing politics than right-wing politics in the United States?
Well, if you that's kind of a hard question. I don't want to say that in America whites are kind of treated as a minority in terms of that, because they're really not. In terms of statistically, there are more white people, but if you look at it, everyone's kind of against the white people, and it's like overwhelmingly against the white people.
Then why do white people run all of the businesses, have all the influence, resemble all the political makeup of the United States?
I don't know
Like,
about if you're talking about influence. Black culture, Latino culture has a heavy influence. Asian culture has a heavy influence on them. It's like white people want to say that white people don't have culture, but it's mixed in there. But America is heavily influenced by everyone.
And who
It's
signs
not
the
just- it's
paychecks
not-
of all of the wealthy black artists and all of the Hispanic people that do movies? I mean, like, are you going to really try to make the argument that white people are like in big trouble in the United States? Like our place in the U.S. is threatened, or?
No, it's not threatened at all. I just think it's more they're more discriminated against than and when the thing is
Discriminated against how?
for just being white.
Yeah, can you give me like an example of some systemic like discrimination that white people in the United States face that doesn't involve Twitter?
I'm taught like I could go into like maybe like education placement, school placement, loans. Like I don't want to say.
Wait, do you think white people get like fucked on loans?
No. I'm talking about that minorities get different loan rates. I'm talking because of them. Same with like it's kind of like loans and school mixed together when it comes to like affirmative action type shit.
Sure.
I don't know if
we can talk about affirmative action, but in that case, Asians get fucked more than white people. So I mean, that doesn't.
Asians are always gonna get fucked more than white people. Like there's a whole thing like they're always going to be discriminated because it's always about getting the black people or Hispanics into the school because people think that more diversity is good, when in reality you should give people the opportunities based on their qualifications rather than based on their race. And that's why I think the problem is much more that everyone's just focused on the identitarian part instead of the actual qualification part.
I mean, you're the one literally telling me that white people are the most discriminated against people in the U.S.
I'm saying they're very discriminated against without any actual backlash on it.
So we can
like everyone attacks anyone. You say one little thing against any minority race, but the second you say something against a white person, it's like, oh, that's okay. It's just kind of like I'm not saying it's.
Sure,
I'm not saying
so we can deal with affirmative. We can deal with affirmative action as a separate topic. But do you think besides affirmative action, are there ways that white people are like systemically fucked with in the United States?
No, not that I can pull off the top of my head. I would have to like look more into that just because I'm not.
Sure. So black
I've never actually looked into like how white people are oppressed, other than
don't you think that'd be a pretty important part of like forming an opinion if you think that white people are the most oppressed people in the United States? Like, maybe...
I might have misworded. I don't think that they're most. I just think that they're attacked more than anyone without any actual backlash on why it's wrong to attack people based on just them being white, because that seems to be the only argument that people have. Just that, oh, that person's white, I don't like them.
Okay.
Like you see a lot of that without any backlash, but like my point is, you see a lot of people attacking white people just for being white, but you never actually see the you never see the backlash for that. But you say you attack someone for just being black or just being Hispanic or just being Asian, everyone automatically jumps on you, and you're completely like, no matter
Okay,
what.
sure. Okay, wait. Okay, somebody's right. Fuck, we're pivoting way too much. Okay, but let's go back to the very, very first thing that we can kind of work our way through this. So, firstly, the Nazi Party was definitely a fascist party, and fascism is definitely an ideology that is more closely associated with right-wing politics. So, like extreme ultranationalism, or I won't say race racist, but we'll say extreme ultranationalism, authoritarianism is generally considered a more right-wing ideology than a left-wing ideology. How do you get this? How do we get Nazis as left-wing again? Like in a simple way, like.
Because Nazis, I compare it more to socialism as the Nazis when they were in control. Again, they price fixed. They first they said that they weren't price fixing, but in the background they were price fixing, and they were owning all the businesses. They were telling all the businesses what to sell, what to purchase, how to sell it, how to purchase it. They were controlling all of the this is a fucking German word for it, but I can't get it off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
But and I look at more of it like the leftists nowadays, people on the leftist side of the spectrum towards socialism and communism. Fascism is after that because you're getting more government
socialism,
control.
No. Socialism, communism, and so socialism, communism are on one end of the political spectrum, and fascism
communism's
is way
after socialism. I look at communism as a more extreme form
fascism
of socialism.
is way on the opposite end. Like they don't ever lead.
I look at that as a misconception because if you look at it now, fascism is all about government control and having everything controlled by the government.
No. You have this very weird like paradigm of like you just like use this weird blanket statement of government control. But fascism implies a single party, authoritarian totalitarian dictatorship. Like this is what fascism means. You have one party with a very strong leader that is ruling the country. That's fascism. It has nothing to do with like.
That's a dictatorship.
Sure, but it doesn't have necessarily to do with like more government control, like more like social security or social health care. That's not fascism.
No, that's not. But I'm not. But then okay. But to be fair, the Nazis implemented a ton of social programs.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people have implemented social programs. It doesn't make you socialist, and it doesn't make you not fascist. Like.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm not again. Like you're trying to conflate with me saying what leftists were back then and what Nazis were back then. I'm comparing Nazis back then to the leftists nowadays and how they identify more with the Nazis could relate more with the leftists nowadays than people on the right. Just because the people on the left want the government to control everything, they want the government to fund everything, they want the government to do everything for everyone, which is what the Nazis did.
Okay, let's just start reading, and we can see who can think of more examples from each side.
Guys.
So, Nazism is a form of fascism and showed that ideology's disdain for liberal democracy and the parliamentary system. So I would point towards somebody like Donald Trump today has threatened to mobilize the military in order to build the wall to the south because he's unhappy with the way Congress is voting. Do you think that could be a decent example of a fascist policy? Or Trump unilaterally banning travel from 7 different Muslim majority countries? These sound like a disdain for liberal democracy to me. What do you think?
A disdain for the world democracy? What do you mean? He's trying to protect the freedom of his own people.
Yeah, so what you just said was fascist. I don't know if you understand that. So when you say he's just trying to
nationalism and fascism are two different things.
No. When you say, but what you say, like he's just trying to protect his people, that's fascist rhetoric. We need a strong leader who can rise above silly government controls to mobilize the military to protect the people. That's fascism.
Yeah, but you can't make that point with America when there's universal rights that everyone has in this country. You can't have fascism built. America can't be fascist.
Well, I don't think America is fascist right now. I'm just saying that what you just gave me was...
Oh, it's getting there.
Well, I mean, I agree as Trump continues to push the boundaries of trying to...
I don't think it's Trump. I think Trump wants to give people more freedom and a smaller government. I think if you look on the opposite side, people wanting more government and less personal freedoms for the people...
So when you say
okay, going against
but the problem is
against the whole point of America.
Well, okay. So just okay. Okay.
Like, unless I'm saying something completely wrong here. Again, I'm just going off. I'm going off what I know and what I've done research on and what I've gone through.
Okay, so
I could be wrong here, and you could know more than me.
Let's just go. Let's just go. Yeah, let's just go word by word. Okay. I'm just going word by word of this. Okay. So
yeah.
Okay. So do you understand what a liberal democracy is? Right, where like people vote.
Yes, and it's America.
Yeah, and a parliamentary.
The Nazis were directly against liberal democracy. They were against America in general.
Sure. Okay.
They were against the ideas of America.
Okay. So when I see somebody like Donald Trump doing things unilaterally to try to protect the country, so things like banning the travel of Muslims to the United States, or saying he's going to send them...
Where there are terrorist organizations in those countries, that he wasn't the first president to do that. Can we be fair about that? Like most presidents, not most. Obama did it as well. It's the only other president I can think of.
No, Obama didn't. Obama didn't ban travel from 7 Muslim majority countries. That didn't happen.
Yeah, he banned travel from not 7 but multiple.
I think
Muslim
he did
countries.
from Iraq. I think, but that was passed. Okay, you're missing the whole point. That was passed by Congress. Okay, that wasn't Obama doing it unilaterally. That was Obama using a liberal democracy. Trump transcended the democracy, and he did it on his own unilaterally.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying.
Yeah, so unilaterally means like on your own, without anybody else's help, as opposed to multilaterally or bilaterally. So
yeah.
Nazism was a form of fascism and showed that ideology's disdain for liberal democracy, okay? Trump threatening to send the military to the border to build the wall would be another example of transcending or going above the democracy in order to get something that he wants done. Is that right?
I mean, I wouldn't look at that as fascism. You're using...
When the government has to vote on stuff like that, and Trump doesn't like the way the government is voting, so he says, I'm going to take the military and I'm going to go build a wall to protect my country. That doesn't sound like... You're
acting like Trump's the only one who's ever used an executive order to do something.
No, I'm not. Other people could have done it, and we could argue that that's examples of fascism or authoritarianism as well. We don't need to whataboutism, though. We're just talking about Donald Trump right now. The idea...
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but you can't act like protecting a border from illegal immigrants when there's an actual ability to claim asylum and come in the right way is fascist at all. That's in fact that's freedom. That's literally like that's like I don't know any other country.
Do you think fascism is bad?
Yes.
Why? Because I think you would really like it. I think if you looked into it, I think you would actually be totally down with it. Because you're giving me a lot of really good fascist arguments. Because like this idea that like we need to protect our country, we have to build a border. These illegal people are coming in, they're ruining our country. Trump has to do it.
No. I never said that they're ruining the country.
You said illegal immigrants were...
Yeah, but I'm an immigrant myself. I illegally immigrated here. Here's how I look at illegal immigration. I immigrated here legally. I came over here with my entire family, and I look at it basically as the people who are coming into this country illegally are shitting on the legal process that me and my family went through to get here. And that's how I look at it. I look at it, why do they get to come in perfectly illegally and get all the public support and all of the welfare that they get, the public assistance? I need to get that word there, public assistance that my family didn't get for coming over here legally. We got over here legally. We came over here the right way, but it's kind of like...
Why does you coming over here legally matter to anybody else? Why would it matter whether or not we let them in or not?
It kind of shits on the whole process that
Wait, you're still here, aren't you?
Yeah, but I still have family. I still have family legally immigrating over here. I still have cousins that are coming over here and all that stuff. So it's kind of like why do they have to go through all that process?
Maybe we could make the process easier as well when we make illegal.
Well, the process is already easy.
The process is not easy. To immigrate from Mexico to the United States is an average wait list is 20+ years.
Again, I don't know the process of going through it from a Mexican other than they have to go through asylum and claim all this stuff.
Right.
Well, don't you think that's pretty important before you call it easy?
This guy is too stupid.
I'm going off my immigration experience and my personal famidy's immigration experience.
One experience doesn't necessarily mean how the whole process works.
I'm not saying one experience. I'm saying multiple different people over multiple different years.
Okay, you know that like 4 or 5 or 20 or however many personal examples you have doesn't speak to like...
Yeah, it doesn't go against the millions of people who have come over the border from Mexico. I understand that. I'm just saying it's kind of still fucking... It's kind of makes it feel unfair to the people who come over here legally. Because there are people who come over legally from Mexico who even say, why are these people coming in illegally from Mexico? And they complain about it, and they're like...
this isn't a reasonable argument, though. There are black people that think we should go back to slavery. That doesn't make it a good argument.
There are black people who want to go back to Africa because they don't like Trump. These are like...
So we don't have to cite like what random individual people say. Right? We can just talk about. No,
I was just making a point about how I was.
Well, you're not making that. My point is you're not making a point. You're trying to use personal stories to bolster an argument that you can't make otherwise. Right? Is the whole point. You're arguing from emotion.
I'm trying to use I'm not coming from. I'm coming from what I've experienced.
Yeah, your personal experiences, how you feel about something, your emotional like point of it. Like, well, this is what I've experienced, but it doesn't speak to the reality of anything at all.
How is want to be a more of a factual point because I've had to actually go through the immigration process and see people go through the actual immigration process and see, like, even if there is struggles, because there are struggles, not like 100% easy all the time, but most of the time it's a pretty simple process if you're not previously a criminal, haven't been previously deported, or haven't been previously convicted in another country, and the only reason you're coming here, which would be the majority,
sure. So let's
families,
so let's say somebody walks into a gym and then they deadlift 400 pounds. Do you think that's the average deadlift of every person in the United States because of that
No.
guy's? Okay, what if somebody walks in and they can only pick up 10 pounds? Do you think that's the average?
No.
So we would probably need like millions and millions of people to go in. Well, realistically, like 1,000, but we would need lots more people to go in to actually determine an accurate average. So when you tell me,
like a study, yeah.
sure. So when you tell me your personal experiences about going through immigration, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really speak at all to like the average wait times or the average difficulty for it, because there's any number of reasons your family could have had an easier time or a harder time getting in. That's why your personal stories are worthless in this type of conversation, right?
Chattel slavery.
I mean, yeah,
and
since it wouldn't
slavery.
compare it to what the people of Mexico are going through, but they can still go they can still go through the legal route. It might be different, but it's
Well,
still
what if the
right way
legal
to
route
do
is
it.
shit? Maybe we should just fuck it and then change it. Wouldn't that be the goal? Isn't that what we're trying to do? To
That
like,
sounds like again that sounds like their personal or your personal problem. When a country has a law or a country has something that you have to follow to do, just like every other country.
yeah, but if
you
we think
shouldn't
the
just
law is
disregard
shit, it's not like we have a moral obligation to follow it when we change the law. Isn't that how laws
But the-
change over time?
Yeah, but don't again the laws give us our right. You're acting like a country shouldn't have a border. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that a country shouldn't have a border at all,
I
and that people just should be able to come in freely whenever they want, despite anything?
Okay,
is that
wait. So
I'm
me
looking
saying
at, like-
me saying that laws can change over time and that we
No,
don't
no, I'm
necessarily
saying-
have policy
no,
and
you-
laws, that translates to you to I don't think we should have a border.
No. You're saying that like border laws are that should be changed and that sometimes they're useless or stupid or something because like that's why they should be changed if they're like I guess outdated. I would say.
Sure. So I think our immigration laws are pretty fucked right now. Yeah. So I don't really.
How so? How so? Can you elaborate more on how our immigration laws could be better?
Yeah, it seems like the wait to get into this country is very, very, very long from places.
How many people do you think? But you gotta understand how many people you think trying to get in this country.
Probably quite a few.
Don't you think that a wait would be good to try to sift through all those people and try to figure out?
We can process them. We just have arbitrary limits on how many we take in a year.
And I think that's a good thing.
Why?
So you can see how those people who you let into the country, like I guess, do.
We already do see that. We've got tons of studies on how immigrants affect the economy and everything of the United States. I mean, it's not like
Well,
a
then don't
mystery.
you-
Like,
well, then don't you think the regulations that we have are working then?
yeah,
If
but
you- if there's studies- if
immigration
there's studies
seems to
that
be
it's
a,
showing
yeah,
immigration that people coming in this country.
yeah, immigration seems to be have positive impacts economically in the United States. So yeah, why not bring in more?
They are don't okay, but you're trying to go against the number that they're letting in they're still letting in immigrants, right? Like they're not just not letting in immigrants.
Yeah, they're letting in a smaller amount, but why not just open it up more so that if you apply to get here, you can just come here, so we don't have to worry about the whole illegal immigration bullshit. You get them here, you process them, you get them under the social security number system or whatever, so you can keep track of them, and yeah, kind of like what we do with DACA
But that's
people.
what they do when you legally immigrate over here.
When you legally,
You're
yeah,
going-
but we've got 13 million illegal immigrants here. Why not just
Exactly.
say? Why not just
and we
register?
we waste how much money trying to like again.
Wait, why not
I
just make them?
thought-
Why not just make them all legal then, so that we don't have to worry about it?
Why are we okay? But okay, hold on. You got to understand how much money that would cost.
Less than
You're
what it
trying
costs
to-
to regulate and enforce them. What do you mean? They pay taxes. They bolster the economy when they're here. They work jobs
Illegal immigrants pay taxes. How?
in a number of ways.
No, other than buying actual things. I mean when they go to work and work.
Yep.
How do they pay taxes off of that? Other than,
Sure.
other
So
than
there are
them
multiple
using
ways.
The money
Sure.
to go buy
So
them sub-
we'll ignore the obvious consumption taxes.
I might be here's
Wait,
the thing.
let me
I
just
was
explain
gonna
real quick
say-
before you say some really dumb shit, okay?
Yeah.
So oftentimes, as an illegal immigrant, okay, if you have a stolen social security number or you're working and you're having federal taxes or FICA payroll taxes withheld on your paycheck, which is something everybody has withheld, if you're an illegal immigrant, you never get those payroll taxes back in the form of Social Security or Medicare, right? An illegal immigrant without a social security number that belongs to them can never cash out on Social Security or Medicare. So in that way, payroll taxes paid by illegal immigrants are paid into a system that they'll never get money out from. Also, if there's any federal or state sales tax or state income tax, it's withheld because you're using a stolen social security number. If they don't file a tax return, or if they file one and they get caught, they don't get those taxes back either. So there are multiple ways that illegal immigrants pay taxes.
But you're acting like they deserve that they're acting like they deserve to get that money back by being. But
I
again,
never
they're
said
illegal
they
immigrants.
deserve it. You just said they
No,
don't
no,
pay
no.
taxes, and I'm saying that's demonstrably not true. It's just factually incorrect.
What do you mean they don't pay? How? But they're not legally paying taxes, because when you pay taxes, like you legally get those back if you're actually paying taxes. If you have a stolen Social Security card, again, that's breaking the law. These are all things that are breaking. You
I'm
can
not.
pay the
Wait,
taxes
hold
all
on.
you
Yeah,
want and still
whoa,
break the
holy
law.
shit. We're like bouncing around with 50 different arguments. So initially you said they don't pay taxes. I'm telling you they do pay taxes. Whether or not you get it back or deserve to get it back, because that's a totally separate discussion. I'm just saying they do pay taxes.
But isn't it synonymous with paying taxes that you get them back, or you get some kind of, or you get some?
No,
kind
I don't
of,
get all the money I pay in
reciprocation?
taxes back. No, of course not. It depends on how much money you make.
But here's the thing: when you get old enough, you can claim Social Security and get money from the government that you put into it from working.
Not necessarily. I mean, I make enough money that I pay more in taxes than I'll ever get back from the federal government through any kind of program. Just because you pay taxes in doesn't mean you necessarily ever get them back. Depends on your income bracket. What?
But that's literally what Social Security is. Is that not? Am I
Social
wrong?
Security
Is
is 1/2 of your FICA tax that you get back in retirement, assuming you live to a long enough age to collect the full Social Security. Okay, you pay federal taxes on your income, you pay state taxes as long as you don't live in Texas or a couple other states, and then you pay payroll taxes, which is split in half, which is FICA and which is Social Security and Medicare. The only one of those that you get back when you get older is Social Security is paid to you in monthly payments once you hit 65 or whatever, and then you're eligible for Medicare as well. But no, everything you pay in taxes, you don't necessarily get back. You don't get back your state or federal taxes.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Social Security is like you pay, like everyone pays into that.
Okay.
So when you hit a certain age, you start getting benefits from that after you stop working.
Yeah, that's one small part of all the tax you pay. So that is how Social Security works. Yeah, but illegal immigrants pay into it but don't get anything back from it.
I mean, you got me there. I'm just saying that, like, my whole thing was you still get your money back from taxes. I have no idea how we got from immigration to taxes. Like, I must have jumped us into that like a dumbass. But
Well, sure. So I mean, so backing all the way up. So why don't we just make all the illegal immigrants that are here? Why not just make them legal so we don't have to fuck with all the illegal immigrant bullshit? We bring them under the tax system officially so that we can get them all registered and keep track of everybody, and then just make them citizens.
wouldn't that just raise taxes?
It would raise the amount of taxes we receive. What do you mean by raise taxes?
To support all those illegal, most of these illegal immigrants are on public assistance that are already on our taxes. So if we make them legal, that means they can legally take advantage of even more a more government assistance, more social.
So every study that I've ever seen regarding like immigration has shown that immigrants are a boon to the economy. They either have a net fiscal impact, meaning the state spends about as much as they get, and they have a tremendously positive economic impact. I've never seen studies that show that immigrants coming into this country have a net drain on the economies that they go to. That's never been demonstrated in the United States.
But they cost the country more. Don't they cost the country more than they make the country?
But they enable other people in the country to make a lot of.
Illegal immigrants cost us almost $100 billion a year in just supporting them.
Okay, but how much do they pay in a year? How much economic activity are they responsible for? Do you know that? Because I mean,
No,
there's always two sides to both of these equations. Like, yeah, they cost
Well, yeah,
money, but
but
they also enable a lot of economic activity as well.
Yeah, but where does it say that they contribute more than the $100 billion that they cost?
Sure. So Borjas is probably one of the most famous, quote unquote, anti-immigration people that talks about like immigration into the United States, and even he admits that the total like drain of like illegal immigration in the United States is somewhere on the order of $500 billion. But he says that they probably cause about that much economic activity as well. So even he admits that it's a wash.
So 5 times as much as they cost.
No. He says that it's about a wash. So a wash means that it all evens out in the end in terms of fiscal impact.
No, but I'm basically you say about $500 billion that they make, but in the end you're saying in the end it just evens out.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, then that's something I didn't know. I guess you got me there, man.
Okay. So I mean, like, so backing all the way up to like the definition of fascism. So
Yeah.
fascism showed an ideology's disdain for liberal democracy and the parliamentary system. So my earlier points was that when Trump decides that he wants to take the literal military to go build a wall, or when he wants to unilaterally ban travel from other countries, that seems to me like a person with a disdain for liberal democracy.
In terms of why?
Because he's saying, I don't care what Congress votes on. If you guys don't pass a budget that has funding for my wall, I'm going to take the military and go build it myself.
But isn't that his right?
I mean, arguably, I think it's being fought in the Supreme Court right now.
Yeah, but here's the thing: isn't he an elected official from, like the country elected him using democracy, as you say. Like the liberal democracy made him the leader, so doesn't he have the right to enact what he's allowed? Like you act like other presidents haven't done the same exact thing.
We're doing the whataboutism a lot. I don't care about other
No,
presidents,
I
okay? Because
know,
I'll agree with
like-
you that Obama did a lot of dumb, bad shit as well. I'm not going to sit here and defend
I'm
anybody.
not talking about Obama. I'm talking about presidents in general using their executive orders to go over Congress to do things.
I mean, it depends on the thing, but I mean, like, what we're specifically talking about here is like, it's not like he's going above and beyond to implement like a green energy program or some other weird fucking like some whatever. He's doing it to quote unquote protect the country by making it sound like we're having a national emergency. This is fascist rhetoric, right? We need to.
Is it not a national emergency when people are illegally crossing the border in giant droves and being
Considering they're crossing the border less now than they were for the past like 30 years, I'd say probably not. Dude, I really think that if you opened your mind and you spent a stream looking into fascism, I think you would really like it. I actually think you would unironically like really like fascism. I don't know why you hate it so much.
I don't like control. I don't like people. I
but
wouldn't
you
like
do.
the government
You seem to
coming
like the
do.
control when it's things that you agree with. This is how fascism works. You say, yeah.
No, I like freedom, but you have to earn freedom. Freedom isn't free.
Exactly. So you don't really like freedom. You like freedom
What
for
do you mean
people
freedom?
that you like.
Freedom
What you're
has never
saying,
been
right?
free. People
So when you
have
start
always
like,
America's been constantly fighting for freedom for how many years to defeat the most corrupt people in the world. Freedom never has and never will be free. That's the point. Like I came over here, earned my freedom, became an American citizen, so I could have the freedoms that I wouldn't have to have in my
sure.
own.
Wait, how old were you when you immigrated here?
I came here when I was 8.
Okay, so you didn't really earn your freedom. You didn't really do fuck all for it, right? That was your family that did it, firstly. And then secondly...
I mean, it was my father, then yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But again, you're right, yeah, my family came over, but again, it's the same as that thing. I could be stuck in a different country right now with less freedom and less ability to make money and do what I want to do. But I'm here where I have the rights to do whatever I want within the limits of the law.
Sure.
But again, I completely disagree with fascism altogether.
Well,
I mean,
unless it agrees with your point. It feels like you just. It feels like you've heard like.
You're right.
It feels like you hear that like fascism is bad, and you think that like Democrats
No,
are bad.
I
so
hear
then you have
fascism
like
is bad,
so then you have
but I
like
look
both
under-
of these things together, and they're like, well, if they're both bad, like fascism bad, Democrats bad, therefore Democrats are fascists. Like it doesn't really fit at all though. Like if you spent like 5 minutes just like reading the first paragraph on every Wikipedia article of like fascism, ultranationalism, Nazism, like you're not going to come up with things that describe Democrats, right? Like fascism is a form of radical, right-wing, authoritarian, ultranationalism. Like this is not the Democrat Party. Like,
but that's not what that's not what I was saying. I was saying that Nazism and authoritarians back then in the Nazi Party, Nazism again is more on the left side of the spectrum.
Yeah, but you're saying that because you're looking at very superficial things. You're not looking at the things that are...
I'm looking at very mainstream
no,
things.
No. When I say superficial, what I'm saying is you're looking at tenets that aren't necessarily inherent to fascism. You're saying like, oh, well, they had some social programs. Nothing about fascism says you can or can't have social programs, and that's not a big part of fascism.
I'm not talking about social problems. I was saying that fascist, the Nazisms, not Nazi, the people in fascist Germany were under socialism. They were government run. All the government ran the businesses, ran the money, controlled everything.
Well, but
under the guise of capitalism.
Yeah, even that's not.
They used capitalism disguised as socialism. I mean, socialism disguised as capitalism to gain the control.
But I don't. Even that's not true, right? In Germany, when the Nazi Party took over, they privatized a whole bunch of different businesses. So even that's not necessarily true what you're saying. But even if that was true, that doesn't make them left-leaning. That doesn't make fascism like a left ideology. That's just.
I was saying that it has more in common with anyone on the right nowadays.
Except the central tenets of fascism, the idea that it is an extremist, authoritarian, ultranationalist thing, is more in line with right-wing ideology today. Ultranationalism, does that sound like they literally called Obama the apologizer in chief, that he wanted an apology to us because he hates his country, and literally Trump like wraps himself up in the flag every opportunity he gets. How can you ever look at something like ultranationalism and say that's definitely Democrats more than Republicans? When Republicans always say Democrats hate the country.
You seem to be conflating ultranationalism with more government control.
No, because it's not because this weird thing of government control. I feel like I'm talking to Chris Tucker. What is government control? I mean, like,
I'm talking about the government control. I'm talking about government funded everything.
Like the military, like because Republicans love that shit. I mean, like,
Oh, again, I completely disagree with how much money we spend on our military.
okay,
but
what about all the
that's a
money
whole
that we spend on
different point.
farmers? One of the largest subsidized industries in the United States. Do you hate farmers too? Should we get rid of those subsidies? Because that's another thing that a lot of Republicans push for. What about all the subsidies we have for people that drill oil or shale in the United States? We subsidize the fuck out of our energy production. Like, I mean, everybody is. What about the recent tax cuts that Trump just did that massively ballooned our fucking deficit because he didn't couple it with budget cuts? I mean, everybody likes to spend a lot of money and have big government control. I mean, No Child Left Behind doubled the size of the Department of Education. That came under George Bush. I mean, this idea that only left people like government spending is insane. It doesn't make any sense.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the left likes to use money of other people to support everyone else.
Okay, where did the money for the tax cuts come from? When Trump did the tax cuts,
Taxpayer money.
Okay, so all the shit that we're still paying for, now that the people aren't paying for it, I mean that's just ballooning our deficit, isn't it? Like, where's the money coming from for our big beautiful wall that Trump wants to build? It's not coming from Mexico. Like,
Again, like.
Also, I meant Tucker Carlson, not Chris Tucker. Sorry, guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Dude, I didn't want to say anything about that, but what's it called? My argument to the whole how much money we spend on the wall thing would again be we spend how much money on illegal immigrants. Why not take a small part of that money that we spend on illegal immigrants and already spend it on building a wall?
Yeah, so like you're making all the arguments for like you're basically saying I don't like this thing, but then when I push you on it, you're like, well, I like it when it's for me. Because what you just said, so okay, well, let's build the wall. And I go, well, how are you gonna fund it? You're like, well, look at all the money we already waste on illegal immigrants. Let's just spend it on a wall. So you're justifying government spending there. Now, what if I were to say, okay,
I'm justifying government spending on something that's gonna benefit our country.
Okay, and Democrats say the same thing about social health care. Why not just do single payer health care, take all the money that we already waste on health care and spend it in a single payer system, and then we'll save money.
Quality will go down as price goes up. What are you talking about? Quality will go down as it's more taxpayer funded.
Why?
Because what do you mean? The more if government is social, if healthcare is socialized,
okay,
and everyone's problems are going to be covered under the taxpayers' money funding the healthcare, which means the quality will go down.
Why didn't it go down in every single other Western country, save Switzerland, that has single payer options?
Because their healthcare was never bad to begin with. You act like I think people in Northern Europe have always been healthy. They weren't just all of a sudden unhealthy and then became healthy when their healthcare got good. Wait. America is unhealthy as fuck. And if you try to take everyone's, do like the socialism route, which is fund everyone's healthcare with taxpayer money, you're going to be funding people's personal problems that shouldn't be covered under healthcare regardless.
So America is the most unhealthy country in the world? Is that?
No, I'm saying America is crazily unhealthy compared to other countries. Like you're comparing Switzerland and what people eat in Switzerland and what people eat in America is completely different. America eats shit, nothing but garbage. Our healthcare is reason to oh my god, the reason our healthcare would be bad on our socials is because everyone's so unhealthy. Like you already have
America, the fact that well, first of all, everybody's obesity around the entire fucking world is high. Okay, I mean America is tops the charts. I think
America's up there with England and stuff. Like UK is climbing up there.
But like, yeah, the UK is very far up there. Germany is very far up there. Their single healthcare systems.
Germany's up there too.
Yeah, their single healthcare systems still work.
No, I'm talking about obesity.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Their single healthcare systems still seem to work just fine.
Again, you're talking about countries that have the population of single states in our entire country.
What is that?
Of course,
I mean, all of Europe, the EU has like 700 million people. I mean, they all have their individual single-payer healthcare programs. Like,
and their healthcare is. Have you ever been to a hospital where socialized healthcare is in Europe?
No.
It's pretty garbage. I saw it. I'm from Greece. We have socialized healthcare.
So before we do this, remember what we said? Remember what we said earlier about how one-off examples don't really make an argument?
I'm not doing the one-off thing. I'm saying
that's what you literally just did. You asked me if I've ever been in a hospital in Europe.
I'm just saying, like, again, socialized healthcare isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Sure. Okay. Well, then let's just say
comparing the socialized healthcare of these small countries that compare it to states.
I mean, like France and Germany aren't small countries. I don't know what you mean.
Compared to America, I'm comparing this to America and how socialized healthcare would.
France has a population of almost 70 million people. Germany is over 80 million people. These aren't small countries. Like
compared to the United States, they are. I mean, I know the United States only makes up 3% of the population of the world, but again, that's still a significant. That's still more than any of the countries in Europe.
Like,
you're saying that socialized healthcare that works in these tiny little countries that are not supported by themselves. Germany supports itself. Switzerland does. Switzerland, all these northern Nordic countries are all supported by other governments,
what do you
and their taxes are extremely fucking high. The taxes to live in these northern countries are extremely high, which is how they fund all their healthcare.
Yeah, and their education and their healthcare like far outpaces the United States. Maybe they're doing something right. No. What?
I don't know. I see. I don't. You're looking at majority white countries. These are majority white countries that are now getting the influx.
That are fucking everything.
No,
Let's get to that. Let's go.
Oh
Okay, man. Wait. If you want to, dude,
You
why
say-
not
you
just
say
go
now-
full alt-right? You love fascism. You're gonna do the fucking demographics argument. Like you're already halfway
gonna
there.
do the
Wait, hold
how
on.
am I
I'm
gonna
just
do the
curious. Do you
demographics?
think Jewish people are running like the U.S. or whatever?
No. What do you?
You should look into that. It used to be called cultural Bolshevism or whatever. You should look into the Jew shit, dude. Like the final question or the whatever. That shit is
Oh my God,
the
what
Jewish
that people
question?
think that the Jews are hypnotizing America and controlling everything from the inside?
Yeah,
Please.
maybe. Yeah, you should look into it. You might. There's a lot there that
I
might
couldn't
speak
see
to you.
that. I honestly, I
Jewish
couldn't- I
people,
couldn't.
they use that Holocaust bullshit to make everybody feel
Oh,
bad for them,
God.
and then behind the scenes they're running the
God.
banks, they're running the Hollywood
Listen,
entertainment.
Are you trying to compare me to people who deny Holocaust?
Well, no, I'm just
Is it like
saying
a
that like you're
Holocaust
already
denier
like
type thing?
80% of the way there, and you don't even see it. Like you can get woke to it like real quick, and then at least your arguments would be better, because then we could have a legitimate conversation about what. Because like normally, what I would argue, if I was arguing with like Richard Spencer, I would be having a discussion on is fascism like a legitimate political ideology. That would be our discussion. But with you, I'm arguing with somebody that thinks they're defending liberalism, but you're actually defending fascism, but you don't know you're defending fascism.
I'm
So
not
it's like this
defending
weird
liberal-
argument. Well, you are. You gave me a ton of arguments earlier for fascism, but you think you're arguing for liberalism. So it's like really weird. I don't know what to say.
I'm arguing for more libertarianism than I am.
No, you're
liberalism.
not. Because if you're arguing for libertarianism, you'd be for open borders, but I don't think you are, right? Because libertarians would call for generally would say they want that's why like the Cato
I
Institute.
doubt that.
That's because you don't know anything about any political system ever. That's why you think that
no.
left wingers are fascists. But so like, do you know the Cato Institute, the big libertarian think tank in the United States? That's if you ever wonder. So if this ever has blown your brain, like I thought the Libertarian Institute, Cato, were libertarians, but they're always defending immigrants. That's because actual libertarians like open borders because they want the free movement to happen so that the economy can function better. Because libertarians don't really care about shit like borders. They want to maximize things like economic principles, which immigration, by the way, super helps.
You're not wrong. You got me there. You got me on a topic I lack knowledge in.
Okay. I mean,
I'm not again like I'm not gonna come in this debate thinking I knew everything. I was just kind of like
sure. To
I
be
come into
fair, I
this
mean, like
debate
you were
letting you
shit talking
know-
me
letting-
on your channel before I dragged you in here. I mean,
Okay, no. I was shit talking one of your viewers who came in here linking your channel saying, hey, this like you should do it. Yeah, and I went off on him. Because
well,
he
I mean,
couldn't-
you were
he
shit
couldn't
talking.
argue his
You were
point.
shit talking my arguments about the incest debate. Like you brought my name up. Like,
Because it's bullshit. He tried to come at me. He tried to come at me saying that there's nothing that says it's morally wrong, when all he says is that it's morally neutral. But he had no evidence to prove that it was morally neutral. He just,
wait. You can't prove something is neutral. The onus is on you to prove
That's
that
what
it's
I'm
wrong.
saying. That's what I was saying. I'm saying my argument was that it's wrong.
Wait. So what is your proof that it's wrong?
Other than, you see, I want to say procreating and that the
Okay,
the
wait.
genetic
You
thing-
recognize
but-
there's a difference between incest, just fucking somebody that's related to you, and having a child with them, right?
Yes.
You don't
yes,
have to
but
have a
that-
child with somebody
Yeah,
that.
I'm aware.
Okay.
I'm aware.
So you're
But
not against
I-
incest. You're against inbreeding. Inbreeding is probably bad. I can agree with you there. But what about
Okay, but
incest?
inbreeding is a symptom of incest, and I look at it as people who commit incest clearly were brought up in a dynamic where that was right, and that's an unhealthy dynamic mentally.
Okay, here's two questions. Let's say two people could inbreed, but there were no genetic problems whatsoever because they either weren't related enough or they took a test. Would you be okay with it then?
No.
Okay, so then it's not the inbreeding that you care about. What is it that you actually care about?
That incest is inherently wrong.
Okay, inherently, why?
That's a loaded question. I can't
I mean,
answer
it's-
that question.
Okay, so why would you
Just
get
like-
mad at a
just like-
viewer for probing you on it if you don't even have the answer?
Because he couldn't give me the counter argument.
Because
on
there
it.
is no
I was
counter argument. If I say to you this act
Then
is
there's no
neutral,
argument in general on it.
no. If I say that an act is okay, listen. Do you think that it would be morally neutral? So I'm holding my wallet right now. If I drop my wallet on the desk and I say, "Well, that's morally neutral," do I have to prove that's morally neutral? No. If you tell me it's bad or wrong, you've got to tell me why it's wrong. I can't prove something is neutral.
Jesus Christ, dude, this is the craziest fucking argument.
I know it is. And now imagine how I feel when I spend all day having these arguments all the time, and I've thought through every single point from start to finish over and over and over again, and then I run into rooms full of people like you that think that everything I say is beyond fucking stupid, and then when I finally talk to you, you literally have not a single thing to say about anything I've said at any point in this conversation. Imagine how I feel now.
What do you mean? I've come at you with proper points.
You've literally receded. You have conceded every single point that you brought. We can revisit them if you want. You didn't know anything about immigration's impact on the economy. You didn't know anything about Obama doing a travel ban that you made up. You didn't know anything about what libertarians actually stand for. No, he did. He did, but he passed it through Congress. He didn't do it unilaterally. It was through Congress. That was the whole difference.
That's not the point.
That is the point. That's the difference between fascism, having a disdain for liberal democracy, and banning somebody using an act of Congress, which is utilizing a liberal democracy. You don't think that it's relevant because you don't know what fascism or liberal democracy is.
It's still the same outcome. He still banned people from different countries. That's the same outcome, no matter how we did it. It's still the same outcome.
Do you think it's the same? Okay, here's a question. Do you think it would be the same outcome if a judge looked at a guilty man on the street and shot him in the face and killed him, versus if somebody had a trial, was declared guilty, and then sentenced to death? Is that the same outcome to you?
That's not the same comparison at all.
Exactly, it's not. So do you think that Obama banning travel from a country after passing it through Congress is the same outcome as Trump banning travel through some countries unilaterally without the approval of Congress?
Yeah, because he has that right and he has that power by being elected as the president of the United States democratically.
Okay, if you think, first of all, I think that's still being debated in the Supreme Court. I'm pretty sure that's on its way to the Supreme Court. But firstly, if you think that the president has the right to just unilaterally ban travel from countries and all that shit, if you want a president to have those powers, why not just be a fascist? This is what they love. Like, I don't understand. Like, you would be so much happier under a strong leader that is mobilizing a single party that is forcibly oppressing things that you disagree with. Like, these are like tenets of fascism. I think the president should have the ability to say fuck off to certain countries because I want to protect my country from countries that are full of terrorists. I don't want to have to wait for slow ass fucking Congress that's all political bullshit to figure this out. I want a strong leader right now to protect my country from things that I think are harmful to me. Why not just do that?
I don't understand. That's more nationalism than fascism.
That's literally what I just described as fascism. It's literally fascism. Maybe you should like spend like one day or like 2 minutes and read the Wikipedia article on fascism. But anytime you see fascism, like replace it with like anime girls or something, and then you won't read it so negatively. And then at the end you're like, oh, actually, anime girls are actually pretty cool. But then you'll be like, oh wait, but it's fascism. Well, actually, fascism is kind of cool. I think maybe it actually be really helpful. Like it's more efficient than our broken democracy. Like,
I don't. Oh my God.
What do you think let's go back to the one thing I'm curious because we're bouncing through all the points now. Why do you think incest is wrong?
The definition of fucking fascism in my goddamn chat right now.
Why do you think incest is wrong? I'm curious.
Because again, mentally, when if you're brought up, okay, let me give you the example that one of your viewers gave me.
Okay.
His example was what if it's two 30-year-old gay twin brothers fucking?
Sure.
Don't you think that for them to be in that situation, that mentally something had to have done something like going through that is not mentally healthy?
Why not?
At the end of the day, there must be something that happened to them that made them gay twin brothers.
Why does that happen? Do you think that's the same thing? Do you think the same thing is true for all gay people?
No, I think incestually. Gay, you're born gay. You don't choose to be gay. That's not something you can help.
What if they were separated at birth and found each other later in life and wanted to fuck?
That's happened.
Okay, so do you think that's morally wrong?
I don't think it's. Oh my God. I think it's objectively wrong.
Why?
Because it's. What do you mean? Why? You can't answer why it's right.
I don't need to answer why it's right. My assertion is that it's neutral. I don't think you can call it wrong.
How is it neutral?
Because it is. Because there's no reason why it's wrong. And I don't necessarily think it's virtuous to fuck somebody else. So I would say it's neutral. It's a neutral action. Like if I go and have sex with like a girlfriend or something, that's like a neutral act. I don't think that's necessarily virtuous.
Yeah, but that's not your sister.
Sure, but I'm saying like that's a neutral action. It's not right or wrong. It's just something I do. So in terms of like one guy fucking another guy, whether they're related or not, I'm asking why it's wrong. I don't have to tell you why it's neutral. Things are neutral that's the default, right? It's neutral, and then it either becomes good or bad.
But where do you get incest being the default neutral? Like, where does that? Where
Because
does that come from?
everything starts at neutral, and then it's moved to either right or wrong based on the arguments you make for it. So, like, murder would start at neutral, and then we say, well, murder is bad because you're removing the rights of another person. You're removing the autonomy. You're violating autonomy. Oh, okay, well, that's a bad thing. So now murder is bad, right? So we start at neutral, and we move to bad. We should do that with everything. Nothing starts as bad, right? Everything starts as neutral, and then you move it one way or the other based on your arguments.
Again, I don't understand how that makes incest neutral. I still like it's still
Okay, well, how is it wrong? Why does it start at wrong?
Because it mostly starts at incest being what's it called? It starts off as incest being most of the cases of incest have to do with procreation or different power dynamics.
Okay, let's go ahead and so I'm going to ignore the fact that you didn't tell me why it's wrong. You listed other things, but let's run down some of those other avenues. Okay, so you think that it's wrong because of having children that might have genetic deformities, right? That could.
Well, it depends. It depends on the traits that are passed down through.
Sure. Well, let's say that's true. Do you think that? What about when two heterosexual people come together? Let's say both of them are highly predisposed towards giving birth to children with Down syndrome. Do you think these people should be banned from having kids?
What, that if they have a higher chance of having a mentally challenged child over not?
Yeah, that they should be banned from having kids.
No one should be banned from having kids.
Wait, so then why do you care about incest people? If two heterosexual people can come together.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. I don't think people should be banned from kids unless the kid is predisposed to come out or.
Okay, but do you think it's morally wrong for two heterosexual people to get together and have a kid if there's a high chance or a chance that kid could be like mentally retarded? Do you think that's morally wrong?
What are the chances of that?
I don't know, say 20%.
Really? There's a 20% chance that two people could. I mean, there's any chance that you could have a retarded kid.
Okay, sure. Then what's the problem with incest?
Because there's a proven higher chance.
So then is there a high enough chance where two people getting together, two heterosexual people getting together, trying to have a kid, where that's a moral wrong?
Can you repeat that again for me? Sorry.
Two heterosexual people get together. They have a high chance of having a kid that's mentally retarded. Is it morally wrong for them to try to have children?
No.
Okay, why is it okay for them but not two incest people to do it?
Because incest is illegal.
Do you think? Did you?
Is it not? Is it that's like saying?
Wait. Hold on.
That's like saying the morality of fucking an animal.
Wait, we're having a discussion on morality. Do you really think you can support your argument with it's illegal? Do you think that's like a good? Do you think you just made a good argument? Like, come on.
I mean, not really. That was the first thing that came to my fucking mind.
So,
but like,
do you think two heterosexual people coming together and having a child that might be genetically deformed? Do you think that's not morally wrong? That's not morally wrong. So what about two incest people? Why is that morally wrong?
I just think if there's two heterosexual people, or those one people could have babies legitimately. Two heterosexual people having a baby that has a super high chance of having some sort of physical deformity, some sort of mental retardation, something that would affect their quality of life. I don't think they should be able to have a kid.
So two heterosexual people shouldn't be allowed.
An extremely high chance. That's what
they shouldn't be allowed to have children. You think?
If it affects the quality of life of the child.
Okay.
That's usually like that would be my same argument on somewhat of abortion.
Sure.
The only reason abortion is good is if the mom or the baby is going to die, or there's a high rate of it dying. Like that's.
Sure, and then just like tangentially related, do you think we should enforce this or codify this in law? Do you think it should be illegal to have a child if there's a very high chance that it'll be more that it'll be like mentally fucked like that?
Well, no, that would infringe rights.
Okay, all right, just curious. So
I'm not saying that it's not allowed and that it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying morally morally incest isn't my opinion is that morally incest isn't good. That's all.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I understand.
I can't
right
go
now,
off facts.
Sure. That's okay.
There are no
well,
facts
it's not. We're not using
right.
facts. We're just using reason here, right? We're making deductive arguments. We don't need facts.
But you're always going to catch me on that reason that it's always morally neutral because no matter what I say, and it's what's it called? And it's if I say it's morally bad, you're gonna go automatically. Oh, why is it morally bad? And I can't answer that.
Well, that's your fault. Because if I tell you something is bad, if I say something is bad, and you ask me, well, why do you think that's bad? I can tell you why I think something is bad. I mean, that's pretty easy for me.
Could you do the argument on why incest is bad? Could you argue that?
No, because I don't think it necessarily is. It's
but here's the thing: if you had to look from the other side, how would you argue that incest is bad?
You can do it in very roundabout ways, but I don't feel like giving you the answers. This is a lot of fun for me.
I know it's a lot of fun for you because you have an advantage on me, but
Well, it's fun because you were talking mad fucking shit like every single fucking person that pretends that they can do this argument so easily. And then as soon as I pull you in, like every other person I pulled in, you completely fall apart because you literally haven't spent 2 minutes thinking about it. Like, did you really think you were gonna come in here and say, well, it's illegal? And I'd be like, oh fuck, you fucking got me. I didn't consider that one.
No.
Like, okay.
No. I knew I was gonna come in here and get torn apart, but I thought I'd give it a fucking try because why the fuck not?
Sure. Okay, so the only semi-decent argument that I think exists, but I don't think it's a good argument, is that if incest is seen as morally permissible in society, there is a chance that the normalization of that type of behavior can lead to other types of incest that are almost always really bad. So, for instance, parents having sex with their children is something that should probably never happen outside of incredibly.
That's the power dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So again, that's not incest being bad. That's a power dynamic thing. But if you normalize the existence of incestuous relationships between siblings, maybe that carries over into siblings in the household earlier on in life, and maybe that carries over into parent-child relationships. That I don't think that's necessarily a good argument because you can use that same argument to argue.
That was the argument I used: is the power dynamic and the upbringing.
That is not even close to the argument that you used. That's like that's like coming outside and showing me like a circle that you cut out of a piece of paper and saying, "Look, I built a car." We weren't even close to getting to that part of the argument. No, we weren't even close to getting to that car to that part of the argument. Okay, so I mean, like, but the problem with that argument though is you can use that argument for a lot of other things as well that I don't.
That's what That's the point. That's the point I was trying to make, is that there's no definite answer to what incest is.
Well, there is a definite answer to what incest is. Incest is a sexual relationship between two. Right,
no. There's no definite answer to whether it's right, wrong, or neutral because
that's my point. Everyone has. Yeah, my point is that incest isn't intrinsically bad. There are other things that can be bad that are often coupled with incestuous relationships. So, for instance, relationships with dramatically off-balance power dynamics,
which is literally the majority of all. Like, you can't give an extreme variable when like the extreme variable of again like two 30-year-old gay brothers, like that's like an extreme variable.
Not really. It's just it is extreme. It's an extreme. Yeah.
It's a variable to make the argument work.
It's an extreme hypothetical to isolate the argument because when somebody says I'm against incest, and you go, oh, interesting. Well, why? And then you say, well, because of inbreeding. Well, because of power. Well, so you're not actually against incest, right? Like that's not intrinsic because inbreeding isn't intrinsic to incest. You can have an incestual relationship where you don't have kids. You can either be gay or you can use protection. You say power dynamics. Well, it doesn't have to be power dynamics. It could be two siblings of a close age that are out of college. You could say, there's a number of arguments you get, but they're not inherent or intrinsic to incest, as opposed to say, like I say murder is wrong, and you say, well, why is murder wrong? I say, well, because it's forcibly removing the autonomy of another non-consenting party, which is intrinsic to murder. All cases of murder are a case where you remove the autonomy from another party without their consent, right? It's always bad. Whereas we can find cases where incest is okay. So that means that we probably don't care about the incest. We care about things like power dynamics or bad inbreeding if you're into eugenics or whatever, or other stuff like that. Those are the actual arguments.
Well, no, those again, the power dynamics, inbreeding, and all that shit are actual arguments that have basis in why incest is wrong.
No, but those aren't. That's
the evidence behind incest being inherently wrong because the majority of incest comes from those dynamics that cause the incest to happen.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that
incest doesn't just come out. You're not born wanting to fuck your siblings or fuck your mom.
Yeah, no, but now we're going to get into some weird naturalism shit. We don't need to. All I'm saying is that, okay, so if something is intrinsic to something, that means that it is like necessarily contained in another thing. So like having a head is intrinsic to being a human, right? Every human has a head, okay? However, unhealthy power dynamics or inbreeding aren't intrinsic to incest. You can have incest that doesn't involve inbreeding or unhealthy power dynamics. It's possible, right? Like every single hamburger, has like let's say something you say like I hate hamburgers, okay? But you actually, and then I say, well, why do you hate hamburgers? And you go, well, because ketchup is disgusting and mustard is disgusting and onions are fucking gross and I don't like buns either. Well, okay, well, you haven't told me why hamburgers are disgusting because you can just have a hamburger without any of that other stuff, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Even though oftentimes hamburgers are served with ketchup or mustard, it's not intrinsic to being a hamburger.
I wasn't expecting that comeback.
Okay.
I honestly was. That fucked me. You got me there, man. I guess. Fuck. Shit.
Okay, well, listen, even though this was kind of brutal, I appreciate you coming on a chat because I know it's really rough and I know it's really scary because I got a fuck ton of people and I understand.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When your friend told me come on and do this debate. I didn't believe him. I was all hyped and mighty. I honestly, I appreciate you doing the debate with me. I appreciate you putting me in my fucking place.
It's okay, buddy.
I kind of expected it. I knew coming in here. I've seen the Destiny videos. I've seen the fucking Smackdowns. I've seen it. I knew I was getting into, and I wanted to throw my fucking hat in the ring.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me time of day to get slammed by you, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it, dude.
Have a good one. Good luck with your games.
You too, man.
Bye.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Oh my god. I wish I could just spend like 2 years of my life and just go through every single person on the internet that's like this person. Just all of them. Just one over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
About everything.
I don't know. Wait, why did that guy's channel just get shut down? Oh no.